Now, I've never done one of these for quite a while, so I think it's about time everybody had an update. So share far and wide, everybody, because we are actually up against it. We're in the 11th hour of this asymmetrical unconventional warfare, and they're just about ready to pull the trigger. Net zero climate agenda, the low emission zones, or the adaptive transport network to deliver the directional weapon systems into the C-40 15-minute kill boxes. So all the electronic kill zones. The actors behind it are the likes of Corn, the low emission zones, to support their bankrupted regimes. A lot of the councils around the country have been bankrupted deliberately. It's what's part of the asymmetrical warfare, so that they'll take on these low emission zones to try and generate more revenue to keep that bankrupted system afloat. Okay. Since the deployment across London, there's been an increase in breathing difficulties of 30% and cardiac arrests. Now, sensors, electromagnetic radiation will cause problems with breathing. It damages the air quality. Now, what's interesting about this, no one is doing anything about it. We'll just get some more ambulances, yeah? Nobody's going, what possibly could be causing? And the reason for that is that confirms the intent. Because if it wasn't intentional, they would be doing something about it. They'd be wanting to investigate why all these people are having heart attacks and why as many people are having breathing problems. Now, this UK authority document confirms that the World Economic Forum are controlling your local authorities, okay, through that George Soros connections and your globalist sock puppets, the executive branch at your local authority. Now, this isn't going very well for them. So you've got a massive change in the political landscape, and consequently, we are now on the march. So getting this information out to people within these new organisations that are in these councils, very important. The World Economic Forum, sustainable transport, sustainable, as soon as you see the word, you know it means depopulation, right? It's just another word for it. So what they're doing, they're trying to price you off the traffic network. The reason why they don't want you in a vehicle. The equipment that they've deployed to do that is tactical battlefield visualization hardware. It's called Fusion. The Unix traffic is part of that, and this uses radar, laser, stereoscopic, near-infrared vision engines, okay, recording your every movement in your city. Here's some of the equipment. This is the radar element. Transport for London said this doesn't exist. We actually have them. We have the bits. We've got the technical documents for it. All this equipment should have an exclusion zone. Radar is not safe. It was never safe, okay? I can, using a certain frequency, create cardiac arrest to those to the general public. You can deliberately do it. It can accidentally happen. It can be an accident. These are radar guns aimed at the general public. There's no radiation warnings there, so people who are EHS sensitive would be at significantly higher risk. People who've got cancer and other health effects, and anyone with a fixture fitting any type of metal contaminants in or on the body, you've got a serious problem. It increases the perturbation of the field and the temperature increase. Now, these are getting removed. What the local council is saying is property damage. These are direct energy weapon systems. You have a defence in law to remove any of this hardware. This causes death to your pets, which are property, so it causes property damage. These are direct energy weapon systems. It's got a aluminium heat sink. I mean, I don't need to go through the whole thing. So we've done this before. Whenever you see ceramics, you know this thing, whoever designed it has designed it for that antenna to get reasonably hot. Okay, and if it gets hot, it's enough to kill you. So here you have the phase, the rear element is a 32 cavity back. Once again, it's on ceramics. These create what's called a synthetic aperture, which can emit a ionizing radiation field. Okay. So here we have the patent for the phased array. It's an electromagnetic radiation weapon system. It states quite clearly, and also 300 megahertz to 300 gigahertz of pulsed frequencies to cause covert, detrimental, adverse health effects, including imminent death. The battery power supplied radar gun that the cops used to use, you can see there's the 4 patch antennas situated on a PCB board, not a ceramic head. It's not radiation hardened, as you can see. The design's not radiation hardened. Now, these guns being fired by cops at cars, and the reflection from them was causing coppers to suffer brain cancers. Cops getting cancers had to stop. It got so bad they had to stop them using them. However, that hasn't been designed as a weapon. Even though it's very, very dangerous, I wouldn't like to be in front of it. I definitely wouldn't want to be behind it. It's called side lobe leakage. So coppers stand all day with that. They were getting cancer. So that shows how dangerous this equipment is. However, as you can see, not radiation hardened, and the antennas are on a PCB board. So not designed to cause serious imminent threat to life. Here we have a number of typical radar modules. You've got a Plextex here, which can see up to 150 meters, once again on a PCB board. You've got a motion sensor there, PCB board again, no ceramics, as you can see. And you've got the latest and greatest. This is the type of thing you'd see in a Ring doorbell type technology, okay? These are not safe. The motion sensors, both motion sensors on the right, 20 to 30 meters. The one on the left there, 150 meters. As you can see, enough power without having to have it on a ceramic, okay? The document, the DST document, right? This is an intelligence document which shows very low level microwave signals can produce death by heart attack, and we know that. It's well known. Okay, so low level microwaves and also neurological pathology resulting in death, where that can cause you to brain bleed. Right. So low level microwaves, not the high power ceramic head capability. That's why I know that these are weapon systems. Now, we've also discovered in the terahertz range these multi-photon ionizing radiation emitters. This is the infrared. We discovered a laser symbol internally. These are Fabry-Perot structures and are laser diodes, actually classified as laser diodes. These would be for send and receive signals. There's a significant danger to these because they're infrared, you can't see them. There's the radar elements on top of the street light. These are the radar guns, right, that Transport for London don't say exist. They've now admitted that they do exist, but that means they have deceived the courts in relation to this. This was taken video in Hillingdon in North London. So you've got a Sense's 2.4 gigs there on the top. That talks to your vehicles, etc. It's an access control system, so you can switch off your car. And just hiding above the red light there, you see the phased array weapons system, the one that was just broken down there before. Okay, so if we go to the actual hardware, Unix traffic C-core. Now, Transport for London has said that it doesn't link with radar. They've told me that this is just for taking an image of your number plate and the NPR, which is not true. That's a total falsehood. The company's own document state it is not that. Okay, it can take, obviously, it's a full video recording capability, so it definitely can take a number plate, but it can also say who's in the vehicle. It can send the information to the police back office. This is mass surveillance. Mass surveillance that they don't want you to know anything about it. Now, when I got back from London, I was extremely concerned about the lasers, and what I looked for was the increase in cataracts. And what we found was that's the 2022, this is the NHS documents, and shows the catastrophic increase in eye injury. This is costing the NHS millions to recover and repair people's injury to the eye. Okay, so this is your C40 cities. It breaches the Public Health Disease Act 1984 there. Here we have the NeuroStrike. The weapons system's called NeuroStrike, by the way. This is it under using an infrared laser detection piece of hardware. So you can see it flashing off the laser at the front. On the right-hand side, you've got the 32 cavity back. We've already covered that. Radar weapon. This is the ceramic head. And on the left there, you've got a 48 infrared laser brain scanning type technology for near-infrared deep brain simulation. However, you need to have the nanoparticles, which would need to be deposited inside the cranium for that to really be of great use. However, this is all part of the IEE 802 15.6, and what it states there is human body for medical healthcare to core body for automated uses. So these are the amalgamation, and this is them hooking you up to the network, the transport network, using what would be required is the contamination that was in certain things. So here we have the breakdown of the neural scanner. As you can see, it's very sophisticated. You've got a 48 phased array NIR board there. You've got the two vision engines. These aren't shown in the technical details for this piece of hardware, by the way. So this is a covert. These have been put in covertly. If you look inside there, you see some massive local data computing processing capability. So what's the data center for? The 5G IEE standards, there it is there, the 802.15. Yeah, and so this is all part of 5G. At the conference, you can see this conference in Cairo 2018, the 15.6, what it basically says is for the sensors implanted in the body, right? Now, how do they implant sensors to fit with the whole body? Now, we know that these transport adaptive networks are for object detection and access control. These are nothing more than electronic mass surveillance, right? The planned C40, planned electronic kill zones. The weapon system is called SITAN EI. It's an AI operated silent assassination through adaptive networks. So they want an AI operating platform. They obviously haven't got the gumption to pull the trigger themselves. How did they get people to go along with this? Well, what they did, they terrorized them. Matt Hancock, who was the health secretary, right, at the time, but prior to that, he was the digital minister. Now, this was called Project Fear. The BBC conspired in a campaign of fear to put people into fear, alarm, and distress, which breached the terrorism laws. And one of the reasons why it would be a criminal offence to pay them. One of the things that they sent out every single home in the United Kingdom was a PCR test that was shipped around the world specifically for COVID-19. We've got the international manifest. This was 2017 to 2018. What we discovered in it was a hydrogel injector, the little needles on the end, you see. And what they do, they deposit these optoelectrical nanopore materials into your cranium. And the reason why they needed to stick it so far up your nasal passage, right, into this, the interface between the back of your nasal passage and your brain. So basically, a lot of the times they were poking it through, and that's why we saw people with meningitis and things like that, because it was extremely dangerous what they were trying to do, right, into this olfactory bulb. So the nanosensors, right, were deposited, and this was all party to what the Ministry of Defence believed to be augmentation. I can tell you it's something completely different to that. This is all part.
Understand the novelty and the viability of neuroscience being leveraged as weapons. We then have the use of nanoparticulate agents, aerosolizable nanomaterials that can be breathed in and disrupt blood flow and neurological network activity, that can be used as an in-close weapon, or perhaps that can be used as a more broad weapon of disruption and destruction. We also have the capability to utilize nanomaterials to get electrodes into a head and to create a vast array of viable sensors and transmitters. This is DARPA's N-Cubed program, next generation non-invasive neuromodulation, utilizing these techniques and technologies to create vast arrays of implantable electrodes that need not be put into the brain surgically, that are then able to read from the brain and write into the brain remotely in real time. And there is a rapid pace. Prizes are big, economically, in terms of power as well. But there are risks and hazards. Yeah, there are conventions that are out there, but the question then arises, are these conventions not just necessary, but are they sufficient? These international signatory treaties have suggested that no, they're not. They're really not keeping their finger on the pulse of the rapid development of brain sciences, not only within the United States and its allied nations, but internationally. Sometimes in programs that utilize commercial veiling to be able to then hide behind in terms of what's being made available to make their military intelligence personnel better, to develop a whole arsenal of weapons, both kinetically and non-kinetically, that can then decrement the performance of competitors and adversaries.
What you've really got to remember is this is not about human augmentation. The real purpose is sustainability and depopulation. So that's basically a sideshow, but gives credence to the science behind it. So there we'll have the graphite ferritic nanometamaterials coming to the surface. These were injected into people, all part of the COVID-19 terror campaign orchestrated by Mr. Hancock there, as well as a significant number of others, because he's party to the cult. You've got a guy who would put a very powerful magnet on and drew the nanoparticles. That should give people some confidence that this stuff can be removed from the body. Here we have an electrical discharge from the injection site. That's a normal electromagnetic meter change piece of equipment. There's nothing complicated about it. Now here we're seeing it being removed, because you've got to remember these nanoparticles will bunch together once injected, okay, because of the ferritic properties, right? The nanometamaterial ferritic properties, the magnetic fields, they will bunch together, and you require, I've just had it out with someone this morning, while you're being sprayed and it's in your water and your food, etc., you need to have the stable antenna in the deltoid for it to work, okay? You've got to tacitly agree to these weapons for it to work, okay? Really important that people understand that. The IE 18802 15.4 MAC layer, we've tested lots of people with these MAC addresses. Now, what I do in the first instance, I will test someone with a near-dear magnet. This is one of the lads who come to mind where we tested them. They're very heavy, these magnets. That's a 30 mil by about 3 mil. And you'll see it's a heavy piece of metal that's now attached to the injectable parts that unfortunately Andy participated in. He had to go to his brother's wedding. He didn't want to get it, but he went. And unfortunately, a lot of people who didn't realize what the globalists were about, right, just took it. Now you'll see, as I'm poking it around there, right, and there you see the attachment. Now I test the tension on the skin. You'll see it's in the total vertical, right? There you go. It should just drop straight off. Okay, can't attach, and it's not attaching to anywhere else apart from the injection site. Okay, now we knew that what we're trying to do, and so I wasn't surprised. Now there are several published peer-reviewed pieces of paper that show there are a number of undeclared chemicals in these injectables, and the nanometamaterials, right, to assist these multi-domain operations, these smart data fusion hubs. Most soldiers have had it, most coppers have had it, but what's its real purpose? Well, when you tie it into the tracking technology, these adaptive transport networks, it's pretty obvious to me what it's really for. Now, the data centers, they know how dangerous artificial intelligence is. They know that this throws the whole CO2 reduction. I mean, these are energy hungry centers where they're basically harvesting all the energy as well as harvesting. But what they're really for is so the track, trace, and termination technology, so they can specifically track out and identify using the mesoscopic technologies that have been deployed across your transport infrastructure. Now, everybody knows that I was very concerned about 5G mass deployment, 400,000 extra masts. They're not for phones, by the way. These are weapon systems. The government have to fund them, right? They have to give them total grants because there's no commercial benefit for a telecommunications company to put these up. They mass increase the temperature. They cause all of the symptoms, flu, pneumonia type symptoms. It's all extremely dangerous, and the outputs are catastrophic at massive levels over ICNIRP guidance. Even if the were ICNIRP guidance, can you imagine having 3 5G masts and a telecommunications mast in one picture? I mean, that is just crazy, right? So the densification, all part of 5G, all breaches European Guideline 216, the Council of Europe 1815 resolution, and damage the air quality that you breathe. What's even more concerning is this, where I stated 5G was a sub-gig transmitter because it's long range. These transmitters can look up to over 100 miles. They can fire the signal over 100 miles because it's a firing of a directional beam. These are ceramic heads, the 64 antennas per unit. They're radiation hardened, and they are thermal managed. So the thermal management design, as you can see there, because it's going to get hot. Now, the industry say the maximum distance, now this isn't using the synthetic aperture, this is just the calculations on inverse square law. They say it's impossible to deploy because you need 115 meters at least as a physical, they have to have a physical barrier. But like the radar on the pedestrian crossings, there has to be a physical barrier to stop you getting within the 3 meters of what they say is the exclusion zone, right? It's actually called a compliance distance. So the compliance distance on these are 115 meters. On the transmitters, on the traffic lights and pedestrian crossings are 3. Well, yeah, within that, there's no physical barrier. There's no warning. These on the top of a building have to have a physical barrier, and they have to. So even if I trespass on the top of a building and I get injured from this, it's whoever owns the building and has allowed this equipment to go on, it's their fault. So there's no warning on your pedestrian crossings, absolute zero. Not even a non-ionizing radiation emission. Now, how this all happened and how I became quite vocal about this, my local authority planned an attack on me, and they deployed an illegal street light in 2016. No environmental impact analysis, but what I discovered, it flickered. Okay, now pulse modulated and flickering will cause significant injury and death. It breaches all of the regulatory standards. You see the pulse modulated frequency there? That's called flicker. It's absolutely lethal. So the breach of 2012 Social Care Act, these are category 2 optical radiation emitters, and the maximum I can expose you to is 0.25 a second. The government say they're perfectly safe because I saw dangerous, you can't look at them. Absolute nonsense. And we know this causes cancer. The Gated Council said that that wasn't true. They failed in a court attempt to gag me, right? And the reason for that is because it is true. All of the science said is optical radiation is a well-known pollutant. Now, we've also got the issue with the vehicles. So part of the low emission zone is to get you into an electric car. The recent German study shows we're talking minimum 100 micro Tesla, which is significantly over the ICNIRP guidance on varying magnetic fields. We know that varying magnetic fields cause sterility. The electric vehicles, this is a hybrid, a diesel hybrid, right, where the battery heated up the diesel in the tank and blew it up just like a bomb. The lithium cobalt themselves can be bombs. The transport government actually stated in dangers of lithium ion batteries, a hidden time bomb, no, a hidden actual bomb, a dirty bomb. It's all well known. So how do they get these into our cities and towns? Now, the plan, the UN Earth Summit in 1992, right? September 22, 1991, what they said was they had to kill us no matter how. Sterilisation, abortion. This is what Bill Gates, the Gavi passport, all of these things, all party to by whichever means necessary so they can bring in the New World Order. Now, that whole New World Order has fallen to pieces. And I'm going to say to everybody who watches this, you need to get out and get after them, okay? Because if we don't start to do what we must, right, what's going to happen? You're going to end up dead. Now, as we're going to show you, right, one way, offensive action, okay? So here we've got a lad. He's just cut down and removed a weapons system he's entitled to in law, and not only entitled to, he has a duty to, okay? Got a couple of court cases coming up about that. It's going to be quite interesting. Criminal Damage Act 1991. In your true belief that that's a weapon system, which I can prove it is, by the way, 100%. It's irrefutable. Being put up illegally, covertly, all part of the low emission zone. Criminals have already written to Con. He's just ignored it because he is an absolute out and out globalist puppet, a George Soros sock puppet. So Blade Runners, your country needs you. The only way to deal with this, because the police aren't coming to help, they're just no more of a hindrance. They've been going around arresting people and taking them into custody, and they're struggling to find out how they're going to charge them or how this is going to play out in a court case, right? You'd need one hell of a corrupt judge and a criminal justice system to get away with what the globalist filth are attempting to do, right? So there's a British hero, right? Get on, son. That's what I like to say. So what everybody needs to do, right? We've got the evidence now, 100%. It is irrefutable. Your globalist cult, your baby butchering cult are planning your murder. We've caught them. We've got all the evidence now. It's now time to go on the offensive and act. Okay? Well done, everybody. Getting out there, getting leaflets, telling people and sharing this is absolutely crucial. God bless you and Godspeed.